Good morning, everybody. Time to look at some more running backs, and we're going to start with a very interesting one who's basically the universal number 3 running back in this class. It is Zach Charbonnet of the UCLA Bruins. And if you're a Husky fan like me, you're pretty familiar with this guy. 22 years old, or will be when the season starts. A little bit of a bigger guy compared to the guys we looked at yesterday. 6'0", 214 pounds. 32-inch arms, almost 10-inch hands. Mixed bag at the combine. His 40 time was kind of slow, but his 10-yard split showed explosiveness, and so did his vert and his broad jump. This is pretty good. You can definitely work with that. And bench press was a little disappointing to me, but at the end of the day, Zach Charbonnet is a guy who shows you what he's about on the football field. Doesn't necessarily need to do a ton of stuff at the combine. So, the big boards... A few have him in the late second. A bunch have him in the early to mid third. CBS has him in the fourth, which I don't really buy. The mock draft database has him in the late second. I currently expect him to go somewhere around there, like very late second, very early third. That would be my guess. This guy's been very productive for the last couple years for the Bruins. Last year he only played in 10 games and had... almost 1,400 yards rushing and over 300 yards receiving. 37 catches, which was a nice improvement over what he had done in previous years. He was averaging well over 6 yards a carry. Actually, he approached 7 yards a carry and 14 touchdowns. And the year before, he wasn't as good, but still very productive. Over 1,100 yards and 13 touchdowns in 12 games. Guy has a nose for the end zone. And he was churning out productive carry after productive carry for UCLA, because the thing to understand with this guy, he's not necessarily going to be busting a ton of super long runs. He's not going to bust a lot of 50, 60, 70 yarders. What he's going to do is grind out those 7 to 8 yards per play. So this guy's a little more appealing to me as a Seahawks fan of what I'm looking for from a running back in this draft class. He runs with great power and great strength. If he gets to that second, if he's able to accelerate, and he's converting, I guess you could call it speed to power, on a defensive back or a linebacker, he can blow right through him. He's got great vision, so he's going to do well in a zone scheme, which is what we run right now. He breaks a lot of tackles, very hard to tackle, especially arm tackles. He's going to break right through those. He's a good pass catcher out of the backfield, too. For a bigger back, he's somewhat elusive. Not super elusive like some of these guys, but fairly elusive. He hits the hole hard, and he's a good blitz picker-upper. Got to be a better way to say that. He's good in pass protection. So there's a lot of positive traits about Charbonnet. Now, I will say this. He's not, like I said, he's a little bit slow at the top end. He's going to get chased down sometimes. He's going to get brought down from behind. He's going to turn a lot of plays that a guy like K9 would turn into a 80-yard touchdown. For him, will just be like a 40-yard run. He's not going to outrun people a lot. He does run a little bit upright. He does dance in the backfield sometimes, like he does have good vision, but sometimes he's a little hesitant to commit. His acceleration is okay, but not ideal. And he admittedly doesn't have the moves that other backs have. So, Zach Charbonnet, what I'm trying to get at here, even though this guy has power he can run with, and I think he can develop into being a great power-type back that also has some upside beyond that, not there yet. So, honestly, this guy isn't great in short yardage, even though I think he has the build and the skills to be that great short yardage back. So, I'm not as enthusiastic about Charbonnet as I was at one point. If we got him in the late second round, that would be okay. But I think that if he slips to the third round, which is possible, then it becomes really interesting, because this guy adds a lot of value in other ways to where he can make up for deficiencies there. But again, we're looking for a short yardage back first and foremost. With that being said, let's move on to Devin Ayaan of the Texas A&M Aggies, a 21-year-old, pretty young. And right away, we kind of see the hang-up here. This is a small, fast guy. You can see it in his stats from the combine. 5'8.5", not even 190 pounds, short arms, small hands, ran a super fast 40, 4.32, 1.51 10-yard split. This guy's a small speedster. This guy is, I don't want to call him Darren Sproles, but That's not exactly what we're looking for to complement K9. A couple mocks have him going at the tail end of the second round or early in the third. The Draft Network has him in the fourth. That's the lowest. But it seems like the general aggregate says very, very late second or very, very early third. That's kind of what I'm expecting here. He's been pretty productive over the last couple years for the Aggies. He only played 10 games last year and had 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns. And over the last 2 years, he's also added 60 catches out of the backfield. So he's given you almost 3 catches a game. And pretty effective and efficient on not a ton of touches necessarily. So Devon Achini, I don't know how to pronounce the last name, guys. I'm just going to cop to that right now. What he is about is very clear. He's got top-end speed, and he pairs that with elusiveness. He's got great acceleration, so he's going to go through that hole, and he's going to be at top speed, and then good luck catching him. If you don't take a good angle, he's going to shred you up. You're not going to catch him. He's very hard to tackle. He's very slippery. He's somebody who can absolutely break arm tackles as well. He's a very good receiver out of the backfield. He doesn't fumble. He runs with great vision. He's got a lot of these backs. That's one thing that I keep coming back to, by the way. Great vision. Great for his zone scheme. And also, he adds value as a kick returner. So if you got him, you would have that. If we don't bring back a Godwin Icky Bicky, that matters. But the weaknesses with this guy are also pretty obvious. He's small. He's not going to run with a lot of power. He's not somebody you can trust to pick up those short yardage plays. He's not yet proven that he can hold up in protection when he's asked to pick up a blitz. And I mean, he hasn't topped 200 carries yet in a season, and that may be something that carries over to the NFL. You may not want to be giving him a big load, which is fine. I'm not worried about that, because we're looking for somebody to complement what we have. But this guy just strikes me as very redundant. He's like a faster, better receiving, but much smaller K9, and that's just not really what I'm looking for in a running back right now. There is definitely a point where it would be worth it just for the value, because, I mean, that speed kills. I love speed. I love speed all over the football field, but you got to love it at running back. And the acceleration and the slipperiness and the elusiveness, it all comes together really nicely, and I'm not taking anything away from that. But at the end of the day, he's a smaller and weaker version of Ken Walker in many ways, and I'm just trying to find somebody who's a little more bulky than Achini or Achane. If we draft him, I'll learn how to pronounce his name. So if this guy slips to the fourth round somehow, then I'm interested because of the value. Otherwise, not really. All right, one more guy in this video. It's going to be Zach Evans of Mississippi, 22-year-old, 5'11", 202 pounds, 31 and 5/8 inch arms, 10 and a quarter inch hands. Most of the big boards have him around the third to fourth round. Couple have him slipping around the fifth. So the at least the big boards that I use. Mock Draft Database actually has him in the bottom area of the third round. It seems like he's somebody who is going to either go at the back end of day 2 or early in day 3. I think he's going to go day 2, but this stuff is always very fluid, especially at this point. His most recent full season was 2022. He gave you almost 150 carries, almost 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns. Not a lot going on as a receiver. 2021, he only played 6 games, but he was very efficient and effective when he got the ball, averaged almost 7 yards a carry. This guy was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school, so there's a lot of talent here, and the production doesn't really do it justice, I think. The injuries haven't helped, and the situation at Missouri where he was in a running back by committee did not help his production. He's actually a really versatile and well-rounded player. He runs with power, he runs with decent speed, he's got acceleration, he's got moves. This guy's versatile. This guy can help you in many different ways. He's got, his best trait's probably his vision. He's great at reading blocks and finding the hole, figuring out where the hole's going to be, getting his blockers into position and then going for it. He's got violent acceleration. He's going to hit that hole hard. And he finishes well. So even though this guy's a little bit smaller than Charbonnet, as of right now, he actually might be better in short yardage. As of right now, I look at Zach Evans and I say that's a guy who I trust to pick up 3rd and 2 more than Charbonnet right now. And he can do it on the outside as well. When he runs to the outside, when he's in the open field and he's converting speed to power, he can bowl people over there too. So he'll do it inside the tackles and outside the tackles. And while he never got a ton of carries in college, which is concerning for some, there's another way to look at this, right? He doesn't have a lot of wear and tear on him. So he should have a lot of mileage left to go in the NFL. Now, Zach Evans is not overly elusive. He doesn't have great lateral agility. That would probably be the main thing that is kind of a drawback on him. I think as a running back, he's got good speed. He's got good acceleration. He'll run people over, but he's not Barry Sanders out there dancing around making people miss. And he's not going to give you a lot in the passing game or as a blitz picker-upper, pass protector. So Zach Evans, probably an early down back, probably a run down back or a neutral down back. You don't really want him out there on third down or obvious passing downs. But hey, that's part of the package as well, right? That's something that you need. So despite the fact that he's a little smaller than I initially thought I would want in a running back, I actually found myself liking Zach Evans quite a bit when I was looking at some of the tape here. So yeah, I would say that Zach Evans, I don't know exactly when he's going to be there in the draft. It's starting to trend towards he might sneak into the top of day 3. But honestly, looking at these traits, knowing what we need, evaluating the state of the backfield as is, I wouldn't mind taking him in the 3rd round. Probably later in the 3rd round, like around pick 100 if we trade down or trade up or do something so we have a pick around there. But if he falls to the 4th, I'm kind of all over that. I think this might be the kind of thing that we want. I know he's a little smaller than you imagine a power back, but this guy might be able to do it. So those are 3 likely day 2 running backs in my estimation. We're going to look at a few more later today. See you guys then. Go Hawks.